of college going up more than 8% each year, that's more than double the rate of inflation, by the way, is forking over hundreds of thousands of dollars just to say you can paint even worth it anymore? Hi, I'm Kayla. I'm a creative. I had my first gallery show in high school, shortly after I was accepted into some of the top art schools in the country, including Savannah College of Art and Design and MICA. I attended art school, graduated in 2020, and since graduation I have worked a plethora of creative careers, including being a painting instructor, working in animation, working in video production. I have worked in design at several companies, including a Fortune 500 you've probably heard of and like to eat burrito bowls from. I have had gallery shows, and my works have been featured at some of the top events in Los Angeles, California. With all that being said, I have had the experience of art school. I have spoken to other people about their art school experiences and their non-art school experiences, and I have seen the highs and lows of both. I am here today to tell you 3 pros and 3 cons of going to or not going to art school, and if you stay until the very end, you can hear my recommendations on what kinds of people should and should not go. In this video, I will do my best to not be biased. I am not here to tell you that you should or you shouldn't go to art school or what you need to do with the rest of your life. I'm just going to explain the pros and cons of each and how to mitigate your risks. And if you guys would really like to, I'd be happy to make a video on how to pick the best art school for you and or how to create your own self-study program if you decide after this that you're not going to go to art school. Let me know in the comments below. Without further ado, let's get into the pros. The first and most obvious one is that art school provides structure. When you don't have art school, you can always learn things online, but it's hard to learn when you don't know what you should learn. Art school gives you a lot more structure in that there is a pre-built curriculum on exactly what you need to know and expert professors who can teach it to you. Because you know exactly what direction you're going in, you tend to learn more relevant information more quickly and cut out all the fluff and random detours. Not only is there the actual structure of your lessons, but there's just the structure of having somewhere to go every day, assignments due that will affect your grades, that could affect your ability to stay enrolled in school, and classmates who can all work together to hold you accountable and keep you on schedule, so that the structure in learning art doesn't have to be completely self-imposed and you're more likely to actually stick with it for 4 whole years. A second pro of art school is that it offers critique. Critique might not initially sound like a pro, but as something that I started doing in high school, even when I was taking advanced placement art classes, I really see the importance of it and how much it can help you improve your art. There's the pros of critiques on a personal side, where it can help you to improve your art. It can help you to become self-reflective and see your art in different ways. It can help you understand the perspective of your potential audience or the people who will see your work. It can help you to just improve by having tons of people in your class and your professors point out things about your pieces that you wouldn't have seen yourself. But critique is also useful in a career sense in that it can teach you how to give and, more importantly, early on in your career, receive critique. If you're working with other people, it is always going to be important to be able to receive critique because, simply put, you will. And bad-mouthing your boss because they didn't like something that you turned in, or not being able to work with the team that you've been hired to work with, is really not going to help you in your career in the future. Furthermore, it's important to learn to give critique, both for when you're working with people on a very large project, or for if you make it to a managerial or directorial level in your career. Art directors have to be able to give critique to junior designers. And receiving so much of it throughout your life can help you understand what kind of critique is constructive, what kind of critique isn't, and what kind of critiquer you are, how you can help make people better the same way that other people help make you better at one point. I remember I got critiqued on this piece and my professor said that the anatomy was just all wrong. And I absolutely did not agree. I was so annoyed during this critique. But going back and looking at the piece several months later, I was finally able to see what he was talking about and how it just simply wasn't correct at all. But my own eyes, for the days that I was working on the piece and many months afterwards, absolutely could not see any issues with it. And without the critique from him, I would have never known at all that there was still more for me to learn. The third pro of art school that I want to talk about for this video is one that I don't hear people talk about that often, and it's that art school has a breadth of different kinds of assignments. This can be considered both a pro or a con, depending on who you talk to, but in my experience, it has been mostly a pro. College requires general classes like math or reading, but even outside of that, in my animation degree, for example, I also took figure drawing, wheel throwing, almost ended up taking photography, painting, etc. You do all kinds of things that aren't exactly related to your degree. Most art schools tend to have a class that they make freshmen take that is kind of just nonsense. At one point, you are very highly likely to be making a sculpture out of trash. Some people see this as a con because they can see these things that aren't related to your degree as a waste of time, but I've managed to see them more as a pro because they allow you to push your creativity. You'll end up doing things that you never expected to do, and it might show you things that you didn't know you would like. It might also show you things that you don't like, but that can be useful in the future in that you've saved yourself some time and you already know it's not for you. And it can help give you some plan Bs and plan Cs in your career. For example, I worked as a designer for 3 years, including at a Fortune 500 company, but I majored in animation in college. How I pulled it off was that I was required to take 2 classes that had me using Adobe software, doing design in one and just random computer stuff in the other one. Those 2 classes, which were really not related to my degree, ended up getting me 3 years worth of income. There are tons of other pros, but honestly, I find that those are the main 3. You have a structure that will set you up for success, teach you what you need to know, hold you accountable, and get you through the material quickly. You are allowed to critique structure so that you can improve as an artist and be prepared for having a career. And you do a breadth of assignments so that you can discover what you do like, what you don't like, and have some other options for when you do make it to having a career. So now that we've gone through the pros of art school, what are the cons? I'm happy to go over them with you, but before we do that, I do want to point out that this channel is pretty new. I'm trying to grow it, and in order to do that, I need your help. So if you're enjoying this video, which if you've made it this far into it, you're certainly enjoying it, I would appreciate if you could scroll down ever so slightly, plus that black button that says subscribe on it, and you will be notified the very next time that I upload. Leaving a like or leaving a comment could also help the algorithm to know that more people want to see videos like mine. I'd appreciate it. Okay, let's get into the cons. The number 1 con, and the most obvious con of all, is that art school is very expensive. A lot of art schools these days tend to charge around $50,000 a semester, so that can be about $200,000 by the time that you graduate, and most artistic careers, even the high-earning ones, will never recoup this cost. I mean, just think about it. $200,000 is enough money for a house in some states. And mortgages tend to have a 30-year loan period. Do you really want to be paying off school for 30 years? Let's run a little calculation. I am looking off screen at my stats, so don't mind me. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average salary for someone with a bachelor's degree is $69,000. If we are to factor in taxes, that means it would take around 4.5 years of working full-time and putting your entire paycheck into your growing $200,000 of art school debt. However, most people like to do things like get gas, pay their rent, eat food, survive, and all of that costs money. So since you're not able to put your full paycheck into it, art school can very quickly become a year-long commitment. I ended up, spoiler alert, going to a public school and studying art under a scholarship instead of actually going to an art school. But there was an art school nearby. I went to one of the showcases they were having for students and ran into several students who said that they were going to be dropping out of school the following semester. The reason why was always the same. They didn't realize how expensive school was going to be. You see the sticker price when you sign up, but you just kind of don't think about it or assume it'll be worth it because you really need that brand name on your resume. But really, the brand name on your resume is only important for getting your first job. Every job after that cares about your portfolio and your experience. So for just one job, do you really want to sacrifice paying so much money your entire life and maybe never actually getting out of debt? But that's just one of the cons. Another con of art school is that the professors you pay so much money to learn under might actually not be all that useful. There are a couple of reasons why. The first one being that you might end up being a big fish in a small pond. Not to toot my own horn, but this was pretty much my experience at school. A lot of times professors tend to create a model of what the work should look like based on some of the top students in the class. If you're not a top student, then the professor will work on improving you to get up to their level. But if, like me, you are a top student, the professors might not see much else to do with you. You're not an expert, you're not the best there ever was, there certainly is more that you can learn, but because you're ahead of everyone else, you look like you've done it all. I graduated top of my class, magna cum laude, and while I'm proud of that achievement, sometimes I don't really feel like I learned all that much in art school. Another reason a professor might not be all that useful is that your professors have lives too, and sometimes their lives are bad enough to affect their work. One of my professors, who will remain unnamed, was going through some family troubles, and at one point when I was supposed to take a class with them, they simply didn't show up on our very first day. They were an hour and a half late most days. They had other professors cover for them. They would forget assignments or change due dates. It was a very chaotic semester, and we ended up having to get the dean of the department involved in getting some kind of an education going and managing our grades because that professor just couldn't. And another way how the school might not help you is that there might not be any professors teaching what you want to learn. If a class doesn't end up the way that you thought it was, or a class just isn't available at the time that you need it, you might simply be out of the opportunity to learn those things. A third con of art school is actually what happens after art school, and that's that creative careers are hard to come by. Art school tends to have two different kinds of degrees. Type A degrees are the kinds of degrees where they don't lead into a straightforward career afterwards. This would include a degree like painting or sculpting, or most of the things that people think of when they hear you're going to art school. The truth of this is that you don't need a degree to do any of these kinds of jobs. There is absolutely no reason for you to go to art school other than to learn with structure, get critique, and try new things. You really need to look at art school differently if this is the kind of thing that you want to major in. You need to see it more as an opportunity to get your career started. You should really be focused on networking at this time. Networking in a school sense just means meeting a bunch of people, making friends with those that you like, and keeping them in mind in the future. You know, maybe one of your old art school buddies will be doing a gallery show, and the gallery will have some open space for you too. Outside of networking, you need to take advantage of school opportunities to do things that can kind of give you a head start. If you want to be a gallery artist, do some gallery shows at your school's gallery. If you want to be a sculptor, see if your professor can hook you up with someone and get you a bit of a showcase. Anything to kind of get the ball rolling on that freelancer style life. And type B careers in art school are the kinds of things that do lead to a career where you will be hired by a company to do whatever skill you learned. This can include things like what I did, animation, as well as illustration, design, architecture, etc. The thing about art school for these careers is that contrary to popular belief, it does not get you a job. All that art school does is that it qualifies you to do the beginning steps towards getting a job. The thing is that companies do not care that you went to school. They do not care where you went to school. I mean that wholeheartedly. They absolutely do not care. The only thing that they care about is that you have the experience that proves that you can do the job that they're going to give you money to do. So art school allows you to qualify for internships so that you can start to build up that experience. It allows you to check all the boxes on the job application so that they'll even bother looking at it, but it's just a first step. You really need to focus on internship and co-op opportunities in art school because if you don't have any experience, the school is just not going to be that useful to you. So I've gone over the top pros and the top cons of art school, but the big question still remains. Should you be attending? My answer is yes and no. Yes, if you are the kind of person who needs structure, motivation to help you build a portfolio, or you just prefer to learn that way. But if you are going to go to art school, there are some things you need to do. Number one is you need to not spend over $100,000. There's absolutely no reason to spend more than $100,000 on an education. I don't even care if you become a doctor. You don't need to spend that much. I would heavily consider going to a public school that has art programs instead of going to a private art school. Number two is you need to do internships or focus on networking opportunities so that when you leave school, you are ready to kick off your career. Number three is you need to explore a plan B. This could come from just a couple of classes that you happen to take or getting a full minor or double major. It's good when being a creative to have some skills that are not creative so that if you need 12 months to paint for an upcoming gallery show, you can get a job in communications for 12 months so that your bills still get paid while you're working on that show. And the final thing that you need to do is to remember that you are paying for this. Even if you have a scholarship, someone else is paying for you specifically to do this, so you need to make sure that you get something out of it. If your professors are not pleasing you, you need to go to their higher up and make sure that they figure out a way to please you. If the school doesn't have a class that you want to take, ask if there is a self-study option, ask if there's an internship option, figure something out so that you can actually get a quality education. And I would say, no, you shouldn't go if you can learn these things on your own. But there are some tips for you too. Number one is to consider getting an associate's degree or just, again, generally have a plan B. I'm not saying that you're not a good artist, you're not good enough, you're never gonna make it, but I am saying that life is crazy. 2020 was not a time when people could be picky with their careers. C-suite executives were getting jobs at their local warehouse making face masks because that's all that was available. 2022 was a time when the major companies in the world were all doing layoffs. Google, Yelp, Amazon, everywhere, everything all at once. The economy is crazy, it has its ups, it has its downs, and it's important for you to be able to adapt to it. Art is amazing, it is useful, you can make money in it, but just like any other career path, it's good to have some other options. 2, I would recommend that you get yourself some critique buddies. This could be in person or online, but it's important to have some people who can look at your art and genuinely be critiquing you on it. These people need to be at or above your skill level to be able to help you improve. And my third tip is to just try new things from time to time. I'm sure you know what you like to learn, but maybe you will like something that you didn't know you liked if you just give it a chance. So there you have it, my final brief. If I were to just answer the question, is art school worth it? My answer would be no, but you can go anyways and still get some value from it. If you do decide to go to art school, it's important to know how to pick the right school and the right program for you. And if you don't decide to go to art school, it's very important to be able to create the right self-study program for you and make sure that you're learning the right things. If you guys want to know my thoughts on either of these things, once again, make sure to scroll down, press that black subscribe button, and leave a like on this video so that I know that that is content that you are interested in. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. And until then, toodaloo, here's some videos for you.